Okay, so we can start our session. So good morning again. So myself Akhiljit, and I'll be your tutor for this program that is initiated by Forward Academy, that is Unlocking Success Mantra. So this will be basically a 1 hour session purely focusing on the tips or the exam technique which you have to follow for your upcoming exam, that is Advanced Audit and Assurance for your December 2020 sitting. So it's purely based on what I can say, that it's purely based on the things which you have to consider when you are preparing for your examination, and things which you have to consider when you are writing your examination in your exam hall, and some tips, some important questions that can arise, or some due to the past trends and all. I've made a small analysis, and from that what and all questions can arise in the upcoming December 2020 sessions, which I'll be telling you towards the end of this session. So let's start our session. So this session, our aim is to pass the AAA paper. How to pass the AAA paper? Okay. So before passing the AAA paper, the main issue with the AAA paper is that it is actually 100% theoretical paper. Okay, 100% theoretical means that if you know some technical stuffs, you cannot simply put it in your exam or put it in your answer sheet. That will not fetch you any marks. Even it is 100% theoretical, it depends on pure application. It depends on pure application of your practical skill in the real world of auditing. So here, even if it's an 100% theory paper with virtually no calculators involved in the paper, only the calculator you might be using is to calculate the materiality. Apart from that, it's virtually 100% theoretical paper. And one of the most advantages of AAA paper is that it is very much predictable paper. But still, the pass rate of AAA is very much less. The pass rate of the AAA paper is very much less. It's coming around 35, in the range between 35 to 40% is the pass rate. Even being 100% theoretical paper, even being a predictable paper, a well structured paper, the questions that are tested by the examiner are repetitive one, then also the pass rate of this particular paper is very low compared to one of the lowest I can see in the P levels after 8 p.m. So the main reason for this is, so first let's see what are the main reason why the students are not getting the mark into the mark of 50. The main reason is a lack of technique. The lack of technique, because as I told you here, it's an 100% practical application paper. Okay, theoretical paper it is, but purely you have to apply your skills and knowledge into the paper. Therefore, it's practical paper. I can say that around 90 to 95% it involves your practical application, and if it involves your practical application, then you need some good techniques to do it. You must have a good technique to apply it. Then only you will be able to cope up with the exam scenarios under the time pressure which is set by the examiner. So you must have actually a good exam technique when you are approaching this AAA paper. And having good technique is not just enough. You have to practice this technique. Practice this technique very well. Because whenever you are doing your practice, whenever you are practicing a revision question, whenever you are doing your mock exams, whenever you are practicing the past exam question, ensure that you are practicing effectively and efficiently. That is by sticking on the technique whichever you have adopted. That's sticking on to that technique and practicing the question. Simply reading the revision kit or simply reading the past exam paper and looking into the back of the answer, we cannot say that it is a good approach to practice. In order to practice, you have to take your PC, you have to go to a constructive response platform that is provided by ACCA. You have to take the question in front of your screen itself, within that laptop itself. Then you have to start solving the problem. Then only you will be getting that exam vibe when you are practicing the question, and you will be getting used to the tools that are present in the CBE platform. So I recommend you to do practice in the CBE platform that is available in the ACCA's website. Rather than simply reading the revision kit or simply writing it in a paper, practice it using the platform that is provided by ACCA. Okay. You guys might have went for your driving test, Okay. For that purpose, you might have joined some driving schools also. So when you have joined the driving schools, here in order to get a license for a car, if I say, you have to take an H, right? You have to take an H. And to take the H, when you go to a driving school tutor, he will tell you the correct spots from where you have to turn, correct spots where you have to bend the steering full, where you have to slow down, where you have to increase, where you have to use your half clutch. Every technique will be told by the driving school tutor, whoever it is. What you have to do is that simply use those correct technique that has taught you by the tutor when you are going through your test. Okay, even if he or she is an expert driver, there must be a good technique in order to take this H when you are appearing for a license test for a driving. Same is the case here. Here, when you are writing your examination, you have to follow a good approach, a good technique to write your answer. You have to practice that technique, as well as you have to use that same technique in your examination hall. Because the problem with technique is that if you are not sticking into the technique, you might deviate. You might deviate from the plan, and your ultimate target might not be achieved. Because since it's so much time pressured exam it is, within that time limit you have to complete the entire 100% paper. And also to stick on to the technique, it might be very much difficult. So whenever you get into an examination hall, if you are told you have any techniques that are taught by your tutors, first of all, go and read all the requirements and just note down all the techniques for each of the question types in your scratch pad. Just note it down so that at the start of the exam, all the techniques will remain fresh in your head. So just note it down to the scratch pad, then start reading the scenario, and then start doing the questions by allocating a proper time. Okay, so here these are the two main reasons why the students are getting a mark below 45. It's coming between the range of 45 to 50. They are not able to score 50. And also one more reason I can say that it is due to the lack of understanding. Lack of understanding in relation to accounting standards. The accounting standards as well as the auditing standards. Since it's an auditing paper, you must also be aware about the auditing standards. So lack of the knowledge of this accounting standards or auditing standard might also impact. Lack of this understanding, lack of this underpinning knowledge. So you must ensure that you are very well versed with all these accounting standards as well as the auditing standard. Accounting standard here meaning basically all the standard which you have learned in your SBR paper. Okay, because your examiner name is actually Lisa Weaver. She is actually a tutor for both SBR and a AAA paper, and she was the examiner for the past few years for AAA paper. And what is her specialty is that one of the main advantages to the students is that she will be setting a very repetitive paper every time. Her paper is very organized and well structured paper, and also in every sitting if you take, a lot of chunk of marks will be from accounting standards. She will be testing in accounting standards a lot in the AAA paper because obviously she is also an SBR tutor. So if you know all your accounting standard very well, all the SBR level accounting standard, if you know it very well, and if you have practiced somewhat well with the main types of question, easily you will be able to score around 48 marks. That is for sure. If you minimum know all the accounting standards very well, and if you have practiced a few of your main exam type questions, you might be able to score around 35 to 40 mark easily alone by doing this SBR standards, because that much weightage is there in the AAA paper in relation to SBR. Okay, so lack of this knowledge, lack of this accounting standard knowledge will also impact the AAA paper a lot, because around 30 to 40% is entirely depending on these accounting standards, and if the student is not aware about this accounting standard, or if they are not having a good knowledge about this accounting standard, they might not be able to apply it. Okay, so you must ensure that you are having a good accounting standard, as well as it's an auditing paper, so obviously you must also have good auditing standard. So I can say that these are the three main reasons which I can see that the students are passing, students are not clearing the AAA paper and scoring a mark between 40 to 45 and all. Okay, so this thing you have to overcome. I know it's now around 22nd of November. Still you have more than, I think, 2 weeks for your examination. Still it's a lot of time for you for P-level paper if you are doing it alone. There might be some working people also here. For them also it's the right time to start your revision right from today itself. Don't delay it. Still 2 weeks are there, which is more than enough for a P-level paper. If you are applying, if you are practicing very well, if you are following your technique, it's more than enough, this 14 days. Right? So overcome all these things. If you are overcoming all this, then the chances of getting passed, or the chances of your mark being closer to 50 will be more. The probability of getting your 50 marker will be more if you are first of all overcoming all these things. Okay, so these are some reasons why students fail, and this is the reason why the pass rates are normally low in AAA paper. Right? So we have done with that aspect. Now let's go to see how we can clear this paper, how we can pass this paper, what and all things we need to consider while learning, while practicing. And also learning and practicing is not enough, because the ultimate thing which is happening is in the exam hall. That 3 hours 15 minutes, whatever you prepare, whatever you have learned, whatever knowledge you have gathered, everything will depend on the 3 hours 15 minutes which you are spending in that examination hall. So you must have a right strategy to use in that examination hall for that 3 hours 15 minutes. That's where I can say that your success is depending on. Major portion of the success is depending on that 3 hour 15 minutes, where you keep your head cool and you stick on to your techniques and you apply whatever strategy you have planned to approach that examination and crack that examination. So let's see how we can clear this paper, how we can pass this AAA paper. So as I have told you, the examiner is the same for the past few years, and she is very much kind that her question paper is a predictable one. It's a well organized one. It's a well organized, structured and clearly laid out paper. So I can clearly say that in the first question, what and all question from what and all areas will be tested. Second question, what and all areas will be tested. Third question, what and all areas will be focused on. So this is the reason why I am saying that since it's the same examiner throughout for many years, the advantage of you guys is that it is a very much a repetitive paper. You have your requirements in front of you already before the examination itself. That's an added advantage, right? It's not like any other paper, any other P-level paper. For AFM, you cannot predict it. You cannot predict what and all will be the requirement. One thing you can predict, that is for a 25 mark question, it can be from risk. But again, in the last sitting, I think in the March sitting or something like that, 25 mark question, risk was not asked. Similarly, for APM paper, we don't know from where the examiner will be testing. SBR, we don't know from which accounting standard the examiner will be testing. But here, it's not the case. For each question, each type of questions, examiner is clearly stating that from which stage of audit the question is set. Which area the examiner is focusing more on. It's clearly mentioned in that examiner articles and all. Fine. So that's why I told you it's a very much organized, structured and clearly laid out paper, and there will be some elements of surprise. That is obvious because it's a P-level paper, it's a professional level paper. So you have completed all your fundamental skill levels and you have reached it in professional level. So obviously the examiner will be assuming that you have some sort of business knowledge, you have some sort of big business acumen which you have gathered. So obviously there might be some elements of surprise, but I can say that it will be not much of that weight. It can be even zero. For an exam paper there might be no elements of surprise. Every question requirement which you have seen is what you have actually revised, or which you have seen is what that was there in your past exam paper. So no element of surprise will be there. So there can be zero element of surprise, but also maximum it can go up to, can say 8 to 10 marks. Max it can go up to 8 to 10 marks, not beyond that. Okay, so since it's a P-level paper, and as I have told you, elements of surprise is there, this elements of surprise should not affect you. Okay, even if there is an element of surprise, I have told you it's around 8 to 10 marks. So don't let this 8 to 10 marks eat your heads. There are other 90 marks remaining for you, which you can answer very well. So when you see this requirement, don't panic at all. The right strategy is that keep this element of surprise towards the end of your examination. That under 90% mark, you know it. You will be able to do that. So focus on that 90 mark. Don't get stressed. Keep your heads cool. This element of surprise, you can deal it at the last. You can deal it towards the end. Whatever mark you are scoring with this element of surprise, let it be 2, 3, 4, anything, that is an add as bonus to you. Okay, so keep this element of surprise. By seeing an element of surprise, don't panic at all. Because keeping your head cool in the examination hall is very much important. Because if something affects your thinking, it will impact your strategy, it will impact your technique. You might not be able to recollect everything which you have learned. So don't panic in the exam hall. Okay, that is the first thing you have to keep in your mind. But that 3 hours 15 minutes is very much important. So make sure that you are using it very well. But we can discuss this element of surprise in details. So first let's see this. I have told you it's a very much organized, structured and clearly laid out to people. So let's see how it is an organized, structured and clearly laid out to people. You know that it is a 100 marker question. First question is a 50 marker question, and then there are 2 questions of 25 marks. And here now the exam structure has changed. All the questions are compulsory. All the 3 questions are compulsory. So let's see how the paper is an organized and structured paper. So here you can see 3 questions are there. This is a 50 marker question. This is a 50 marker question. Under this 50 marker question, the examiner has clearly stated that 46 mark will be technical mark. 46 mark will be technical mark. 4 mark will be professional mark. So 46 mark will be technical mark, which means that the actual requirement will be 46 mark, where you have to use your practical skill and practical application. And there will be some knowledge area. Pure knowledge area will be also there. But normally it will be around 8 to 10 marks. Out of this 46 marks, around 8 to 10 marks will be pure knowledge. Remaining will be the application. The application bits which you have to do. The practical bit which you have to apply. So 46 mark are the technical mark which will be available for you. The 4 marks are professional marks, and these 4 marks are for your briefing note, and this will be there for every sitting, and I'll tell you what and all you have to include in a briefing note, what and all things you have to consider when you are preparing the briefing notes as the session goes on further. Then, as I have told you, each question is planned on a particular stage of audit. Okay, and here, as I have told you, as we know that the audit will be starting from the planning stage. Before planning stage, there are pre-acceptance stage and all, but planning is one of the most important stage, or we can say that it's the starting point of the audit. So question number 1 also, the starting question also will be set out in a planning stage. So the first question will be also set out in a planning stage. Just okay. So first question also will be set out in a planning stage. So you will be in the planning stage of an audit, and in this planning stage you can be given an existing client. So you will be doing a continuous or a recurring audit. You might be doing a recurring audit for the same client, or else it can be a new client. And if a new client is tested, then the knowledge area normally the examiner is attempting to test you will be what are the preconditions to audits. What are the conditions you have to consider before accepting a client. Or ISA 300 can be tested, planning. Or ISA 315, understanding an entity, can be tested as a knowledge area if it's a new client. Then the key bit out of this 46 mark is this, the risk. The risk area will be there. That is, basically there are 3 risk areas: business risk, audit risk, and risk of material misstatements. And virtually I can say that risk of material misstatement and audit risk both are somewhat similar. Only audit risk has a detection risk in additional, but that detection risk will be also having a low weightage, less than 5% weightage in your scenario. So I can basically say that ROMM is equal to audit risk only. Okay, so if audit risk question is also asked, focus more on this ROMM rather than trying to find out some detection risk in the scenario. If you are not able to find it out, fine, leave it. It might be maximum of 5% weightage. Main weightage of 90 to 95% weightage is depending on this risk of material misstatement. So focus on that. Okay, so this risk assessment will be there for sure, pakka, in every paper. Either it can be business risk, either it can be audit risk, or it can be a risk of material misstatement. And this risk assessment can be either of an individual company or it can be of a group company. It can be of an individual or a group company. Okay, so normally, as I have told you again, here some knowledge bits can be tested. Here, examiner previously has also tested relying the works of internal auditor, relying the work of experts. And if group companies are asked, then examiner might be tempted to put relying the works of component auditors. Okay, so relying the work of service auditors. Such questions can be also set out from knowledge area in the 50 marker question. And also, she is very much keen in putting audit procedure questions, audit procedures, the typical audit procedures questions in the first 50 marker question. So she will be giving you 1 or 2 items, 1 or 2 financial statement items, and simply saying to write an audit procedure or to write a substantive procedure. So if she is asking to write you audit procedure, always remember audit procedure will include both analytical and substantive procedure. But if the examiner is only asking you to write a substantive procedure, don't write any analytical procedure in that. Okay, so this is one of the mistakes that is addressed in the examiner's comment, where the students do. If the substantive procedure is asked, and if you are writing an analytical procedure in that, it will not fetch you any mark. You are wasting your time actually. Time is very much limited for AAA paper, because there are a lot of stuff to read. You have to plan your answer. The first 50 marker question, it will come around 3 to 4 pages. So you have to read all the question, then you have to analyze it, you have to plan the answer, then you have to write it. And if you are writing you're wasting time writing something that will not fetch you mark for 100% sure. Don't go for that. That's a waste of time. Fine. So audit procedure is also a feature that is most probably seen in your first 50 mark question. Then ethical and professional issues are also tested. Ethical, professional issues. Okay, what are the ethical issues and the professional issues that has to be considered while you are going to audit this particular client? And finally, the practice management. The practice management will be also or can be also tested in this first 50 marker portion. Right? So these are the questions, or these are the areas from which your examiner is structuring the first 50 marker question. So see, from these areas are the question tested. So if you study well, if you prepare well these area, if you practice well this area, you already know what are the requirements that are going to come in the 50 marker question. So that's why I told you this is a very much predictable paper, provided that you have to use a good technique and practice. Similarly, question 2. Question 2 is of a 25 marker, and question 2 is set out in the completion and reporting stage of audit. Okay, so you are towards the completion of the audit. You are towards the finalization of the audit. Okay, you are going to issue your audit report. So during that stage, the second question will be framed. Okay, so the normal features that come up in the second questions are, again, audit evidence can be tested, going concerns. In previous past exams and all, repetitively going concerns were tested in the second question, the going concern assessment, because going concern assessments we are doing towards the end of the audit. Similarly, the subsequent events. The subsequent events also, you are doing it towards the completion stage. You are doing towards the end of the audit before issuing an audit report. So such standards, such ISAs, that is written representations, going concerns, subsequent events, other informations, these and all are done towards the end, and examiner might test these accounting standards, auditing standards in this second question. Right? Then again, ethical, professional and quality control issues are also tested in the second question. Communication with TCWG is also widely seen. So various communications which you make relating to the deficiencies in the internal control, the matters you are communicating with the TCWG, the risk of material misstatements which you are communicating with TCWG. So these are also tested. Fine. Then what you can see, and I can say that in 4 sitting, normally out of 4 sitting, in 2 sitting you can see this, that is audit reports. Either one audit report will be given, okay, there will be some mistakes in that audit report, you have to critically appraise that audit report. Okay, you have to critically appraise that audit report, or else what you can see is that a typical opinion question. So issues will be given, and in that issues you have to say which opinion you will be providing, whether you will be providing a modified opinion, whether you will be providing an unmodified opinion, whether you will be adding any extra paragraphs when you are providing an opinion. So these are the 2 types of questions in relation to reports, audit reports, that can be tested, that can be also tested in question number 2. I think in the previous last 2 sessions, audit report was not tested. Normally, frequently in every one exam sitting gap, audit reports are tested. So I can say that you can expect an audit report for December. I'm not sure, but it might be there in your December 2020 exam. An audit report, critically appraising an audit report, or some issues will be given. You have to write an impact in the audit opinion. Right? So these are the questions that will be tested, or that are mainly seen in your question number 2. Right? And finally, third question, I cannot say that it is set in any stage of audit. It's an open-ended question. It can be from any area. So it's not set in at any stage of audit. It's an open-ended question. So from syllabus, any area can be tested, and I've told you there is an element of surprise. That element of surprise can arise in this third question. Since it's an open-ended question, it's not an organized question, the third question. Therefore, it can be from any area of the syllabus. And as you guys all know, you have to cover the 100% syllabus. Okay, because from any area, if the question is tested, you must be able to do it. Okay, so such surprise packs can be seen in this third question. Right? And what normally in the third question, if you are seeing the trend of the past paper, normally most frequently inputted area in the third question is this other assignments. This other assignments have been a regular feature in the third question. That is, virtually in every 4 sitting, out of every 4 sitting, 2 sittings non-audit assignments will be tested. Forensic audit can be tested. Due diligence can be tested. Audit of performance information can be tested. So normally they will be testing other assignments also in the third question. It's also normally seen up in the third question. Similarly, exposure at 540, which is relating to the accounting estimates, it was tested in the March 2019 sitting and all. Okay, after that it is not tested. So such feature of a surprise element is that if it's once tested, it will not be coming in a next 2 or 3 sittings. It might take 1.5 year or even 2 years to repeat that surprise element. That surprise element will not be carried forward to every sitting. It will come in once in a blue moon. So what I would recommend is that go and practice the past papers. So here other areas which will be tested is the money laundering, quality, ethical, professional and quality control issues. If it's not tested in second question, it can be tested in third question, and also practice management. So these are some areas which are commonly tested in the third question. But as I have told you, this third question is an open-ended question. Examiner can set it from any area of the syllabus. Okay, so now I hope you have gotten clear idea why I have told that this paper is an organized and structured paper. Okay, because these are the requirements, or these are the things which the examiner testing. And if you know all these things, what you have to do is that you have to learn all this, you have to practice as well. Right? So clear with it? What are the most commonly tested areas in the first 3 questions? Any doubt in it?
No, sir.
Okay, fine. Now let's see the elements of surprise. I told you there can be some elements of surprise. It will be around maximum 8 to 10 marks, maximum, not more than that. Okay, so the strategy is that don't panic when an element of surprises comes. Don't panic. Okay, keep it towards the end of your examination. Okay, attempt all the questions which you can do very well, attempt it very well. Then after that, later go into this element of surprise and try to write whatever you know, whatever you can write in that area, try to write it. Okay, so when you're dealing with the surprise elements, what I will suggest is that you have to scan a last few exam settings. Okay, you have to do some past exam questions, and whenever you are doing some past exam questions, if you see some unusual requirements, if you see some requirement which you have never seen before while you are practicing your revision good question, you feel that it's not a repetitive one, it's a very rare type of requirement, if you are seeing it for the first time, if that's the case, make the note of it. Make the note of the question paper, which year's question paper it is, which question, which requirement. Make the note of it. Just write the requirements. Just write down the requirements in a blank sheet of paper and make this list of the surprise element. Because as I have told you, this surprise element which have been tested in the previous exam settings will be carried forward in the future exam settings also. So if the ED was tested and let's say March 2019, it was not again tested till now, till the settings that has happened the last September. So it can come in December or it can come in the next March 2021 settings. So normally examiner will keep a gap to brought forward the surprise elements. So what you have to do is that do the past exam question, minimum go back to 5 years, start from 2015 or 2016. From 2016 to 2020, take all the exam paper. You have to practice it because that is one success mantra which I am going to tell you. So you have to anyway practice all the minimum 5 years question paper, previous years question paper you have to do. Okay, so when you are practicing these questions, when you are reading the requirement, if you see any surprise question, any unusual question where you cannot turn your head around, write it down, note it down. So note down all the requirements which you have seen and then just revise it, just read the answer of that. What is the answer that the examiner has given to that surprise element? Revise to that. Okay. And to writing the surprise element, what you can do is that you can use your business acumen and you can use your common sense to write your these surprise elements. Okay. Just use your business knowledge and try to write something. Don't leave these questions. Our aim is to attend 100% of the paper. Don't leave any questions. Fine. And as I have told you, one more thing you have to follow with the surprise element is that keep it towards the end. Keep it towards the end of your exam to write the surprise element. Don't waste time thinking around this particular thing and waste your time. Allocate your time very well to the other 90 marks. This 10 marks will wait for you at the end. At the end, in 5 to 10 minutes or 15 minutes which is available, just write something which you can write it in this area. Fine. So now the password you have to apply for your success. 5 4 not 5 4 5544. So 5544 is the passcode you have to use. Passcode of what? Is it a mobile passcode? Or is it a password of, let's say, the laptop of the examiner, where you will be entering this passcode and you will be getting the question paper, or you will be getting all the important questions? No. This is a passcode which I have created, which you have to follow minimum, which you have to do minimum. The self-appraisal which you have to do. The self-appraisal every student have to do before going to the exam. So you have to appraise yourself. Have you done this 5544? What is 5544? At least do 5 latest past exam paper. This is minimum. This is minimum. Minimum do 5 past exam question paper. So now it's 2020. Okay. So from 2020 March backwards, take 5 years. Sorry, take the past 5 papers, minimum past 5 papers. I would recommend you to go to 2016. From 2016 to 2020, whatever paper are available in the ACCA's website, take that and practice. That will be my personal advice. But minimum, because there might be some time constraints and all. And here now it's already towards already the date is towards nearing towards the examination. So minimum try to do 5 latest past exam paper. Right? Then the second 5 of the passcode is that there are 5 exam technique articles. 5 exam technique articles that are available in your ACCA's website. This is a must read technical article. This is a must read technical article. In this particular technical article, examiner has clearly mentioned how to write the answers, how to approach the questions for each type of main core areas. That is for risk, for writing audit procedures, for writing the reporting questions, for doing the matters and evidence question, for doing the ethics and professional issues and quality control. So for all the 5 core areas, and also for non-audit assignments. So for all 5 core areas, the examiner has given you a technical article. How to approach those questions, how to structure your answer, how to write your answer. Go through this exam technique. Go to this 5 exam technique article. This is a must one. This is a must read one. Technical articles are so much important for your P-level papers. So please do it. Compulsory. Fine. 5 latest paper and 5 exam technical article, which is compulsory. Then 444, and in 444 the first 4 stands for the latest examiner report. Examiner report, students might not be tempted to read this examiner report, but I personally say that it might help the students before going into the examination hall. Don't just read it as a story and all. Whenever you are getting a free time and all, just take one latest examiner report, just read it and see what the examiner is saying. Examiner will be stressing out some point. Examiner will be mentioning you some point where the students make the repetitive mistakes. So you must make sure that you are not making that mistake in the question when you are going to write the paper. So whenever, let's say if there is a risk question, if the audit risk is asked, students are writing business risk. That's a common mistake which the students do. So if the substantive procedure is asked, they are writing analytical procedure in that. If ethical issues are asked, they are writing professional issues in that. So these and all are wrong things which should not be done. So examiner is clearly stressing every mistake that are done by the students. The actual students who wrote the exam. Those mistakes are highlighted in this latest examiner's report. So whenever you get a time, try to just read it. Just don't learn it and all, just try to read it and note wherever the examiner is stressing, wherever the examiner is saying don't do that, or students are repetitively doing it. Such points, just note it. Just highlight it so that you are not making that same mistake when you are writing your examination. Fine. And finally, the 4 latest examiner answer for marking schemes. So this what you can do is that you are writing minimum 5 latest paper, right? So what you can do is that when you are after writing the mock exam or after writing the paper, you might be checking it. So when you are checking it, take this examiner marking scheme also with you and see whether for what and all things are the examiner giving a mark. See whether that is there in your answer. So do yourself a self-appraisal. Correct yourself. See whether you are fetching a mark. For what and all areas the mark is there. That will be mentioned in this marking scheme. So do practice this also. Practice 5 questions, and for that 5 questions, take the marking scheme that is given by the examiner and mark yourself. Fine. So this is the passcode which you have to follow, 55 and 44. Ensure that you are doing this. And as I have told you, technical articles are very much important. So these are some knowledge articles you must read. Okay, there are many articles. This much beyond this, technical articles are there. Sorry. Technical articles are there, but minimum I would recommend you to at least read these things. Okay, data analytics and computer based environment. This computer based environment is the last technical article. So when you are doing data analytics, do this data analytics and computer based environment together. It will help you a lot. So do it together. Audit and specialized industry, accounting estimates and related disclosure. This was tested in March 2019. NOCLA, that is non-compliance with laws and regulations. There's a beautiful article by the examiner. So go through that. Corporate governance and impact of audit practice on audit practice. Audit disclosure. This is an important one. Just go through it. Audit disclosures in financial statements. Performance information in public sector. This is one of the other assignments which can be tested in the December sitting. So just go through this. Performance information in public sector and auditors liability. There are more technical articles, but time constraint is there. So maximum whatever you can do it, but I minimum recommend you to go through this knowledge articles. These are not the technical article. Exam technical article is different. Their examiner is saying what and all you have to follow when you are writing a core question. Here examiner is mentioning some knowledge area that can be tested, right? So these are some of the must read articles from the knowledge area. Then when you are attempting a question, this is the sequence which you have to follow. Whenever you are starting to read a requirement, first obviously you will be starting to read a requirement. And as I have told you, when you are reading a requirement, if at all you have some techniques, before the start of the exam, just read all the requirements, only the requirements, not the scenario. Just read the requirements and just scribble down the techniques in the scratch paper in front of you. Okay, so that technique will be there in front of you whenever you are answering it. You will not deviate from that technique when you are writing the answer, right? Then after that, when you are actually approaching the exam paper, when you are actually answering the exam paper, first thing is that when you are reading the requirement, read the requirement carefully, because understanding the requirement is very much important. Read it carefully and understand the requirement. What is actually the examiner expecting? That you have to understand first. Then only you can write an answer. Or simply writing anything will not fetch you mark. See what the examiner is asking you to write. See what the examiner is expecting from you. Understand it. If the examiner is saying that identify and explain, simply identifying one thing will not give you any mark. You have to also explain it. If the auditor is saying critically apprise an audit report, she is mentioning there that critically you have to apprise. So there are some limitations in the audit report. You have to identify those limitations and you have to explain it. Evaluate. So if the examiner is saying to evaluate, you have to do the evaluation of the situation that is in front of you. So understand the requirement carefully. What the examiner is actually expecting from you. Understand the requirement. That's the first thing you have to do when you are reading the requirement. So read the requirement very carefully. Okay. And after that, when you read the requirement, break down the requirements. When you are reading the requirements, there will be commas and ands and all. So focus on that commas and ands. If commas and ands are there, they are different requirements. Try to break down those requirements. Okay. Then only you can see how much weightage will be there for each area. What all I have to write to plan your answer. That's the next step. To plan your answer, you have to break down your requirement and you have to understand the requirement. Then only you can plan. Right? So when you are breaking down the requirement, for example, here in this question, here in the first question in the A part, the examiner is asking you to evaluate. So you have to evaluate. Okay, so you have to identify the risk from the scenario and you have to evaluate the risk. How this particular item will be the risk for that organization. That you have to evaluate and address it. So you have to evaluate the risk of material misstatement to be considered in the planning of the group audit. And also they are clearly mentioning here, they are giving a full stop. So break it. Full stop is given in the requirement, break it. What are they saying after that? Your evaluation. So when you are evaluating the audit risk, your evaluation should utilize analytical procedure. So they are saying that your evaluation should include analytical procedure. So which means that examiner is expecting analytical procedures in order to identify the risk of material misstatement. So simply just writing the risk of material misstatement will not fetch you mark. Some weightage is also there for this analytical procedure. Students will not read this requirement carefully. They will be simply reading evaluate the risk of material misstatement. saying that in a hurry they'll be going to the scenario and doing the risk of material misstatement. But there are weightage for analytical procedure which the student miss out. Out of the 16 mark, maybe 6 mark will be for analytical procedures. It might be allocated for risk related to analytical procedure. So don't read the requirements in hurry bari. Carefully read the requirements, understand the requirement, break the requirement. Then only you can analyze what is the marking requirement. If you break down the question, then only you can analyze what are the marking requirement. So here now you are clear. Now here you will be clearly knowing that for writing risk of material misstatement there is some portion of mark. Similarly, to write analytical procedure is also having some weightage. So now you have understood the scenario. Now you break the scenario and now you know the mark allocation. So now what you can do is that you can plan your answer. Okay, so plan your answer. Now when you are planning it, you know what to do. What I am going to write here. I am going to write audit risk. And also when I am writing an audit risk, I have to also include an analytical procedure in it. So I know what to do. How to do it? How to do this? Do I need to use a column approach, or do I need to write it in a paragraphs? Okay, so plan it how to do it. And now since you know the mark allocation, you can also now decide how many points you need to aim for, how many points you need to write. Mark is for 12, here the mark is for 16. So if mark is for 16, you know that each audit risk will be fetching you 2 marks. So minimum you have to write 8 points, and in that out of 8 minimum try to identify 2 risks using your analytical procedure, because that also has some weight. So aim for 4 risk of material misstatement without analytical procedure, aim for 2 risk of material misstatement with analytical procedure. So now you have planned your answer. Now you know what you are looking out for in the scenario. Then go and read the scenario. This analysis is very much important. Read the requirement carefully and plan it very well. Then approach the question. See this question. Here. The requirement is A. The requirement A is identify and. Wherever and is there, mark it. And is there. That means that the next thing is asked by the examiner. They are looking for another thing also. They are not only looking for identification, they are also looking for explanation. Simply identifying will not give you any mark. You have to explain also. What you have to explain. Ethical. Not only ethical, again an and is there. So you have to write ethical as well as professional issues. Again an and is there. So the requirement is not over. Again one more and. What is the and? After that and they are saying that recommend any action which you take in respect. So here you have to identify an ethical threat or an ethical issue. You have to explain that ethical issue. You have to identify a professional issue. You have to explain that. You have to write actions for it. So these are the 3 requirements now you need to do. Now you need to do. So you know that. And you know the marking is 10. So now you can plan. Now you can plan how many ethical issues. Minimum I can write, let's say 2 or 3 ethical issues. Let's say 2 or 3 professional issues. 3 or 4 actions. So I know what I am going to do now. Then read the requirement and try to get those, sort out the points from the scenario. So this is very much important when you're reading your examination. This planning is very much important. And to plan it, first you understand the requirement, what the examiner is expecting from you. Break down the requirements, break down into the different mark allocation. Plan your answer, how to do, what to do, how many points to write, what are the mark allocation. So do that. And then next important thing is case connectivity. Case connectivity. Try to connect the case as much as possible. A story is given to you, so don't write any generic point. A story is given to you. So if that's the case, link with the story. Absorb to the scenario, absorb to the case. Use the case. Always remember, in these questions you are audit manager. Audit manager will not be using the textbook and simply writing the definitions and all. If risk of material misstatement is asked, to evaluate the risk of material misstatement, and if you are writing risk of material misstatement, risk of material misstatement is the risk that the financial statement will be having a material misstatement due to fraud and error. Examiner is not expecting this. This is pure bookish knowledge. Manager will not do this thing in their organization. When they are evaluating risk, when the auditor is evaluating risk, they will not write the definition of the risk. So assume, always remember that practically you might not be a manager, but hypothetically you are a manager in that scenario. Assume that you are a manager. So what a manager do in an organization, how he thinks, that way you have to think when you are writing an exam. Adopt to the case, connect to the case. So avoid general points, don't write generic stuffs. Read the story, story is given in front of you. Based on that story, try to answer it. Okay, so read the story, try to extract the points from the story, and also look out for flagged things, because in some questions, if you might have practiced previous questions and all, in some questions, some areas might be given a separate paragraph. Examiner might give some area in bold letters, some areas in an italic letter, some areas might be quoted in inverted comma. So such area, actually the examiner is doing to make your attention, trying to do those stuffs to make your attention. So there might be some important stuff there. So look out for such flagged areas in the questions. That might be important. Read it very carefully. Right? So try to connect the case as much as possible, and then present your answer. This is the final thing. This is when you are applying everything which you have processed. Now you are applying it in the examination, and this presentation of this answer is also very much important. So when you are presenting the answer, as I have told you in question number 1, you will be having the briefing note. You will be having the briefing note. Always it will be briefing note, and it will fetch you 4 easy marks. Don't lose this mark. These are easy marks. Don't lose it. Get the entire 4 mark out of it. Okay. So when you are writing a briefing note, give a heading first. Give a heading. That is briefing note. Give a heading and briefing note. Write the to address, or write the from address. Write the date. Write the subject. Write an intro. And whenever you are writing each requirement, give heading for the requirement. So whenever you are writing part A, in the answer, wherever you can give headings, give headings. Okay, when you are writing an issue, an ethical issue, if you can give a heading for that issue. For example, if it's low bowling, give the heading low bowling. If it's a bribe, give a heading bribe. So try to give some small headings and all. It will be more attractive to the examiner. Okay, so when you are writing the briefing note, write a para and then start your answer. Write a requirement, give the heading, what are you planning? If you are assessing risk, evaluating risk of material misstatement, write down. So whenever you can give headings for the risk. For example, if you are writing the risk relation to inventory, give the heading inventory. Then write down the risk. So present your answer well. Give headings. Headings are encouraged. Okay. And an important thing, break your paragraph. Don't write big paragraphs. Okay, maximum go to 4 to 5 sentences. When you reach 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you reach 5 sentences, break the para, leave a line, then start the next sentence. Don't write it in big para and don't go for bullet points. This is the approach which you have to follow. Break it 4 sentences or leave a line, write it. So those things you have to follow when you are presenting your answer. Presentation is also an important thing, because since it's a theoretical paper, it's a 100% theoretical paper. You are writing all the steps, you are typing down all the steps. So the examiner must be able to read it also. It should be presentable, then only they will be tempted to read it also. If you are writing it in big paragraphs, like which you can see it in big articles and all, if you are writing simply big paragraphs and all, examiner might not be tempted to read it. It can irritate the examiner. So don't irritate them. Right? So present answer. So these are the things which you have to keep in mind when you are attempting a question. When you are attempting a question, these are the things which you have to keep it in your mind. Right? And finally, the tips, the important questions which can come in the December 2020 sitting. And again, as I have told you, I have given a disclaimer. It's only a guesswork based on the past analysis and all. I just based on the past question paper analysis, I have made this. Okay, based on the examination trend, I have made this. So I have given a disclaimer. As the auditors gives a disclaimer, when there are auditor's liability, in order to restrict the liability from the third party, auditor will give a disclaimer. Similarly, I am giving a disclaimer. Okay, it's only a guesswork. Okay, don't only study this and go to the examination hall and then don't blame me that this question doesn't arise. Okay, so our aim is to attempt the entire 100% syllabus, not to cherry pick anything. 100% coverage is important for ACCA people. Okay, this is just given to you to give a more weightage. When you're practicing it, give these stuff some more weightage. That's all. And there might be some people who are starting their studies right now. They might be working till now, so they are only going to start the preparation from today or something like that. For such peoples, they might not get enough time to learn the entire syllabus and all. For such people, just to give more importance, I am giving this topic. So as I have told you again, I am stressing, I am giving a disclaimer. Okay, this is just a guesswork. Okay, I am not the examiner, so I don't know what and all questions will arise in December 2020. This is just based on the past trend analysis, estimates, and if it's an estimate, if it's a judgment, if it's a subjective thing, as you know, whenever you are auditing a subjective thing, there is risk. There is risk. So here also risk is there. Right? So tips for December 2020. From risk area, business risk can be tested, because business risk has been not tested in a few while. Business risk will not be tested in every sitting like auditor score, ROMM. So business risk can be tested in the December sitting. The few last 2 to 3 sittings, business risk was not tested. So business risk can arise in the December 2020 16. And also this cannot be ruled out. That is, so business risk with ROMM, not only business risk with ROMM, or audit risk with analytical procedures. Analytical procedures was also not tested. It was only tested way back. So analytical procedure can also pop up for your December 2020 exam. So practice some risk question using analytical procedures. Right? And in reporting, going concern can be tested. So learn the going concern assessments well. The responsibility related to the auditor relating to going concern, and the audit procedures which the auditor has to perform in relation to going concern. And then the typical reporting question. Audit reports also, I have told you, it is not tested for a few while. So audit report can be also tested. A typical audit report. So a few scenarios will be given. You have to write that audit impact. You have to write the audit opinion. What opinion will be provided. And even critical appraisal can also arise. So reporting question can come. Reporting question can come, might come in the December 2020 exam sitting. Other assignments were also not tested in the last sitting and also not tested in the March sitting. So for the last 2 sitting, other assignments was not tested, and normally the trend is that after every 2 sitting, 1 other assignments will be tested. So other assignments can be arising, and if other assignment can be arising, it will be there in the third question. It can be either due diligence or it can be audit of performance information, and I have already recommended you this technical article, audit of performance information. Right? Then this matters and evidence question also was not tested in this year, this cycle of examination 2020, matters and evidence is also not tested. So this can also might pop up in your December sitting, matters and evidence question. Data analytics, it's a recent thing, therefore it can be tested, but it is actually tested in the last sitting. This was tested in the September sitting, so I don't think it might come, but don't ignore it. There's a technical article, so just read it. Data analytics, don't ignore it. COVID-19 impact can be tested. The impact of COVID-19 while auditing in the different stages, while planning the audit, what and all you need to consider. Because now, since the COVID-19 impact is there, going concern is an important thing. Many entities might be facing going concern issues. So this going concern is an important thing for every audit now, and every auditor has to appropriately disclose if at all any going concern indicators are there due to this COVID-19 impact. And also all the stages of audit will be impacted. For example, the evidence gathering stage. When you're gathering evidence, you might not be able to get enough evidence because due to lockdowns and all, you might not be able to go into the organization to gather evidence. You might not be able to attend the physical inventory count because the entity is closed. So such issues can be arising in the audit stages due to the COVID-19 impact. It can be tested or might come up, might creep up depending on the mood of the examiner. Depends. And accounting standards, all accounting standards are important, okay, but these are some few accounting standards which are frequently tested, okay. So I cannot say that accounting standards, you need to know all the accounting standards because from any area it can be tested, but these are some common or frequently tested accounting standards, and out of this, there is 3 will be there virtually in every sitting. So know IAS 36, 37 and 38 very well. And your examiner is so kind that she will not be testing complex accounting areas in the AAA paper. For example, in the case of if you are taking IFRS 9, she will not test you hedge accounting. She will not test you impairment of assets. She might test you fair value through P&L, financial instrument recognized through fair value through P&L. She might test IFRS 7, the disclosure requirement. She will not go into much complex area of the accounting standard, so she is a very kind examiner. I can see that, even if she is testing accounting issues. So these are some basic standards which you have to know or you must know, and it's virtually tested in almost every sitting, 37, 36 and 38. Then IFRS 2, 5 and 15, that is share based payment, non-current asset held for sale and discontinued operation. This was actually tested in September sitting. Last sitting this was tested. IFRS 5. IFRS 15 revenue is also an important standard which you cannot rule out. Government grants are creeping up in few exam settings. This can be tested now because due to the COVID impact and all, sometimes government might be giving grants to the organization. So this can arise, this can creep up. IAS 20 government grants. IAS 16 a common standard PPE can be tested because for every organization there will be a non-current asset, and leases also can be tested. These are some frequently or most commonly tested some of the accounting standards. You must know all the accounting standards, but these are some common accounting standards that you have to focus a bit more compared to others. Which means that I am not saying that you need not learn the other standard. Every standard is important, but these are some standards which are frequently creeping up. Fine. So that's it for today's session. I hope it was a useful one. If you have any concerns or queries, you can ask me. We can have a 5 to 10 minutes interactive section whereby you can ask your doubts. If you have any concerns, you can ask me. We can discuss. Hope you have enjoyed your session. If you have any concerns, please let me know. Any doubt in any area, Please let me know. I cannot, in this 1 hour, I cannot obviously communicate to you all the techniques and all, because it will literally not possible. I cannot practice any questions and all in this session. This is purely how to approach your exam. This session is purely focusing on how to approach your exam. What all things you need to keep in your mind. What all things you have to do before your examination. So that this session was conducted. Remember the passcode 5554. Practice is the key. Take the constructive response platform of ACCA. Do the questions there. Practice the questions there. Okay. Don't try to read the question and take the answer from the back and just read it. That will not be helpful. In order to take an H in the driving license test, you have to sit in a car and you have to practice. Reading the book how to drive a car will not help you. You have to sit in a car and you have to drive. Similarly, reading a question or reading an exam question or reading the past exam paper will not help you. You have to solve it by yourself. Then only you are practicing. Then only your technique will be improved. Then only you can manage your time. Whenever a cricketer is going into the ground, he is not going into the ground without a practice. He is practicing before the match. He is doing the next practice. He will be playing practice matches. Then only he will be going for the main match. Similarly, when you are going for the exam, practice is very much important. Especially I am stressing it for this paper. It is very much important. Practice means that take your laptop, take your PC, type and practice. Fine. So, if at all you have any concerns, please let me know. Any doubt? Hope you all enjoy the session.
So can you show the technical articles once more?
Technical article, okay, just a minute. Is my browser visible? Okay. These are the 5 articles which I have recommended you relating to technique, exam technique. Exam technique for ethics part 1, exam technique for risk, exam technique for accounting issue, exam technique for audit procedures, and exam technique for audit report. So if you are seeing ethics, examiner has clearly explained what and all you need to consider. They have given you the requirement. They have given you how to apply this knowledge, how to apply your knowledge. They have given you an example, how to apply it, how to write an answer, how to structure an answer. So what and all you will be fetching the marks. So it is correctly mentioned in these articles. See, everything is highlighted and the answer is given to you, how the examiner is expecting the answer. So if a technical article is given to you by the examiner, they are not simply doing this thing. You have to go through these articles. It's very much important for P-level papers. So these are the 5 technical articles which I have told you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 exam techniques, and other one are the technical stuffs. So these are the recommended one which I have told you: data analytics and the auditor, auditing in specialized industry, NOCLAR, corporate governance, audit disclosure. This is important one, performance information, read it, it can arise. Auditor's liability. You read this also, analytical procedure also read it, because as I have told you, it can arise, analytical procedure. So read it, go through it. Going concern also, it is examinable in December. So analytical procedure and going concern, go through it. Fine. So this is where your technical articles will be available. Fine. Okay, anything else? Anything else, others? If you have any concern, please let me know. Or else we can wind up the session. Hope this session was beneficial for you. Maximum whatever I can do in this particular 1 hour session, I hope that I have given you, I have contributed something towards your exam success for your December sitting. Hope it has benefited you guys. Yeah. So thank you guys all for attending the session. Okay, and wish you all the best for examination. Wish you all the success. Prepare very well. As I have told you, the important areas, go to those important areas. Technical article 1. Remember the passcode 5544. Practice well. Okay, and all the best for exam. And keep a cool head in your examination. Don't tense. Don't be tensed. Okay, don't worry. Just write it. Just write whatever you know. Just stick on to your technique. You will clear. Fine. So all the best for examination. So I'll give you my number. If you have any concern, you can contact me. Okay, so again, once more, best wishes for your examination. Write well. Okay, hope you all clear the exam. So bye and have a good day. Thank you.